Chantel's hand pressed against my stomach like she owned the right to touch me, and the room erupted into gasps and clinking glasses as she announced, "We're pregnant." She said we, but her eyes slid to Damari, who slid right next to her in that ridiculous navy blazer I bought him last Christmas, grinning like he had just won a championship. At my 32nd birthday dinner, in the middle of the ivory room, in front of my mother, my cousins, my coworkers, and half the damn city, they executed their little performance, waiting for me to break. They wanted tears, screaming, humiliation, something spectacular. Instead, I took a calm sip of Pinot Noir, letting the warmth settle on my tongue, holding back a smirk, because I already knew. I knew all of this 6 weeks ago. The candlelight flickered across the gold trim of the plates, catching the horrified confusion on faces that turned to study me. I heard someone whisper, "Lord, not Naya," like I was a delicate flower about to faint. They expected the fragile, emotional basket case they've always assumed I am. Years of therapy, self-work, and quiet strength didn't fit their narrative. They needed the messy black woman stereotype, volatile, broken, irrational. But they didn't realize I had spent 6 weeks transforming from wounded wife to strategic executioner. And when you know you're walking into a trap, you don't fall. You build a bigger one. 6 weeks earlier, on a random Tuesday morning, I opened the family iPad to check my calendar and found the email. The title, "Our Plan," looked like a trashy reality show episode, and curiosity pulled me into a hell I didn't know I had the stomach for. There it was, a detailed outline of the affair, the pregnancy reveal, and the cleanup plan. Announced the baby publicly to corner me emotionally, filed divorce papers with a proposed settlement already drafted, push me out of the house, silence me with shame, and hope I would just disappear quietly. They use phrases like fragile state and emotionally unpredictable, like my grief was predictable and easy to weaponize. Damari wrote, "She's vulnerable about the fertility stuff. She'll fold fast." They had no idea how grief transforms when it's mixed with betrayal. It becomes fire. Finding that email didn't break me. It burned away everything soft about me. I thought my heartbreak over infertility was the worst pain I could know. The monthly disappointment, the silent tears in the bathroom, the way I swallowed blame like medicine. Damari held me every time I broke, acting like the supportive husband, telling me, "Baby, maybe it's just not meant to be for us." He never missed an opportunity to look virtuous. He never missed the chance to make me feel defective. But I believed him because I loved him, and I trusted the person I built a life with. Ayana, my best friend, paralegal, part-time therapist, full-time truth advocate, listened to me unravel the story in her office while she scribbled notes and chewed on her pen cap. Something don't smell right. Men don't just come back from a fertility clinic empty-handed. He's lying. She offered to help me legally dig, and I didn't hesitate. 2 weeks later, she handed me Damari's actual medical report, azospermia, severe, permanent, 0 viable sperm. Not low, not poor, 0. I stared at the paper, numb, then burst into this cold, silent laugh that scared even me. Not only was he a cheater, not only was he a manipulator, he was scientifically incapable of fatherhood, which meant Chantel wasn't carrying his baby. She was carrying somebody else's. But betrayal doesn't happen in isolation, it grows in clusters. Once I accepted that Damari lied about infertility, I suspected he lied about everything. I hired a private investigator, a wiry, older white man with nicotine fingers and the discretion of a priest. 3 weeks later, he sat across from me in a Starbucks, slid a file across the table, and said, "Your husband's committed a federal crime." Damari had embezzled $200,000 from his company. He didn't pay for fertility treatment like he claimed. He funneled money to Chantel. And the final blow, he bought a house for my mother, Yvette, using stolen money, a house she proudly bragged about as a blessing from God. My mother, of all people, the woman who always told me, "You're too emotional, you're too trusting, you let people run you." And yet she was knee-deep in a plot designed to make me suffer quietly. She accepted blood money to secure her own comfort, while I blamed myself for a marriage dying from lies I never told. So yes, I walked into the ivory room with a calm smile and a heart made of ice. They planned a spectacle, I planned a funeral, for every illusion I ever held. The waiter poured me another glass of wine, and I raised it slightly, letting the stem catch the light. Damari tightened his arm around Chantel's waist, like he was waiting for me to form a scene, but he didn't know that chaos was their language, not mine. Silence and timing were mine. When Chantel finished her announcement, expecting applause, I clinked my glass with a soft laugh. Wow, what a surprise! My voice was smooth, controlled. They took my calm as weakness. They didn't realize calm is often the sharpest weapon. I continued, "Since we're sharing life updates tonight, I have something for you too." I slid the medical report across the white linen table, Damari's name, his diagnosis, his truth. I leaned back, letting everyone read the one line that shredded their story. No viable sperm present. Faces dropped like someone dimmed the lights. Chantel's smile froze. Damari's mouth twitched. My mother's nails dug into the tablecloth. The room turned into a vacuum of disbelief. Before they could speak, I said, "So I'm curious. Whose baby is it?" The gasp was collective, loud, messy, real. But I wasn't finished. Not tonight. Not at my own damn birthday dinner. I wasn't just here to expose infidelity. I was here to dismantle the financial empire they built on my humiliation. I slid the second folder out from under my purse, the one labeled with bank statements, transfer logs, real estate documents, and private investigator notes. And as I began to open my mouth to reveal the truth about the house, the embezzlement, and my mother's role in it, security approached our table, and Damari stepped forward, rage contorting his face into something monstrous, muscles twitching as he lunged toward me, eyes wild, voice cracking with, "You stupid!" But I didn't flinch, because this was the moment I'd been waiting for, and I knew exactly how I wanted it to end. The moment Damari lunged at me, two security guards materialized like they'd been waiting backstage for their cue. I didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even let my wine ripple. I'd spent years shrinking myself to make this man feel bigger. Tonight, I sat still and let everyone watch him come undone without me lifting a finger. The guards seized him mid-swing, one grabbing his arm, the other gripping his shoulder, and he snapped, "Get off me!" like a rabid animal backed into a cage he built with his own damn hands. The restaurant fell silent, except for the subtle jazz still floating through the speakers, mocking the scene. Candlelight flickered, glasses shook, whispers rippled. Chantel looked frozen, her face an uncomfortable blend of horror and disbelief, mascara pooling under her eyes. She had spent months preparing for a triumph. She hadn't rehearsed for humiliation. And my mother, Yvette, queen of composure, sat stiff, chest rising and falling too fast, lipstick bleeding at the edges like she'd pressed her mouth too tight. "Let him go," Chantel shrieked, throwing her hands up like she was auditioning for some tragic soap opera role. "We're leaving. This is ridiculous." But the guards didn't budge. They didn't see a victim. They saw a man about to assault a woman in a five-star restaurant, which was very bad for optics and worse for liability. One of them said in a monotone voice, "Sir, you need to calm down. You're making this worse." I lifted my glass and said, "Accurate statement." Damari snarled, "You think you're so damn smart, Naya. You think you're slick. You ruin families. You ruin everything you touch." I laughed, not loud, not unhinged, but softly like he'd told a cute lie. "No, baby, you ruin everything you steal." The guard started walking him backwards, and he twisted violently, nearly dragging one of them down. A few diners screamed. Someone's champagne flute shattered. And suddenly the music cut off, like even the sound system had decided to shut up and watch. That's when Chantel glared at me, tears streaking, and spat, "You planned this! You're sick! You're evil!" I stood slowly, smoothing my dress, letting every eye in the room land on me like I was taking the stage. You two plotted to destroy my life. You wanted to embarrass me, humiliate me, replace me, force me out of my own marriage on my birthday. I paused, letting that settle. The only difference between us is I executed my plan with literacy. A few gasps, one stifled laugh. Chantel flushed violently. And since we're being honest, I should mention one more thing before you run out of here to film another fake pregnancy announcement with someone else's child. Her face crumpled and she began shaking her head before I even said it. Don't you dare! I turned to her calmly. Damari is sterile. The word sterile hit the table like a grenade, violent, undeniable, impossible to ignore. Some of the women in the room covered their mouths. A man muttered, "Damn." The weight of science, of truth, of evidence sat between us, and Chantel couldn't outrun biology. Which means, I continued, you lied about this baby to force me out, to get money, to build your little fantasy life with a man who literally cannot father a child. I shrugged, but hey, who am I to kill your dreams? Maybe Marcus will be more helpful. Her lips parted and a broken sound escaped her. I'd never seen her lose control. Chantel was the family's reigning beauty queen, composed, adored, envied. Now she stood collapsed and trembling, the illusion shattered. My mother abruptly stood up, chair scraping loudly. That's enough, Naya. You're making a scene. I'm making a scene? I asked, eyebrows rising. At my birthday dinner? Interesting perspective. We can discuss this privately. No, I said, calm but sharp. You made your choices publicly. And you built your comfort on stolen money, money that is now traceable to you. Her eyes widened, just enough to confirm guilt. I didn't know. I cut in. You did. You just didn't care. My mother looked around, calculating, trying to salvage dignity. I'm your mother. You don't talk to me this way. I leaned forward slightly. A mother protects her children. You sold yours for a house. Silence. Except for the one sound I'd never expected. Her voice cracking. Damari, still restrained, screamed, "She didn't know! I handled everything! Don't drag her into this!" I smiled thinly. But I didn't drag anyone. You involved her when you used fraud money to buy the home she bragged about to every breathing soul in this city. Chantel clutched her stomach, suddenly protective. You're heartless! No, sweetheart. I'm honest. I turned to the table, voice strong, steady. That house will likely be seized in an investigation, so maybe don't get too comfortable. Chaos erupted. Voices overlapping, chairs scraping, people standing. My mother stumbled out of the restaurant, tears streaking, clutching her purse like it was life-saving. Chantel collapsed into a chair, hysterical, and Damari, red-faced and sweating, screamed after me, "You'll regret this. You'll die alone. You'll lose everything." I walked to him, close enough for only him to hear. I already lost everything when I married you. Tonight, I'm getting it back. The guards hauled him toward the exit, and he didn't go quietly. You're weak, Naya. You're nothing without me. I tilted my head. Then why are you the one being dragged out in handcuffs? He froze. And that silence, the stunned, humiliated, defeated silence, was the first peace I'd felt in a year. I turned to the remaining family and guests, lifted my wine, and said simply, "Happy birthday to me." Then I walked out of the ivory room, heels clicking, heart pounding, adrenaline humming under my skin, feeling a freedom so sharp it hurt. But the night wasn't over. Exposure was round 1. Justice was round 2. And I already had the paperwork ready for war. As I stepped onto the sidewalk, cold night air hitting my face, my phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. Got more info. You need to see this tonight. I stared at the screen, pulse racing, because apparently my husband's crimes were just the beginning. The text came from an unfamiliar number, but the tone felt urgent, like someone holding a match to gasoline. I stood outside the ivory room in the December cold, streetlights catching on the sequins of my dress, and typed back, "Who is this?" The reply came seconds later. Meet me at the Lawton Building, parking deck, level 3. Alone. Alone. That word would normally spark fear. Tonight, it sparked focus. Because when you've already stared betrayal in the eye, danger loses its intimidation. I called Ayana on the walk to my car, my heels echoing against the pavement. I'm going to the Lawton Building, I said, unlocking the driver's side door. Alone? She asked, voice rising with offense, not concern. Girl, that sounds like you about to get kidnapped. What are you doing? I don't know yet, but someone has more information on Damari. Send me your location, and if you're not home in 2 hours, I'm calling the cops. That's dramatic. That's love, idiot. I smiled, despite everything. I'll text you when I get there. The drive was short, but my mind traveled through years of memory. Late nights with Damari, his effortless charm, the little lies I brushed aside because I believed they were harmless. I thought marriage was compromise, sacrifice, patience. I didn't know it could also be a prison built from deceit, where the innocent served the longest sentence. When I pulled into the Lawton Building's parking deck, the air was colder, wind sharper, like even the atmosphere was suspicious. The third-level lights flickered, casting long shadows. A man stepped forward from behind a pillar. Early 50s, balding, wearing a brown jacket too big for his frame. He didn't look like a threat. He looked tired. Nia? He asked. Yes. I'm Madsen, the investigator your friend hired. I exhaled slowly, easing the tension in my shoulders. You texted me. You said you had more information. He nodded, glancing around like we were being watched. Your husband's situation is worse than embezzlement. Much worse. I'm listening. He handed me a thick envelope. Damari didn't just steal money. He did it to cover debts. Gambling debts. He's been laundering money through multiple accounts, including accounts in your name. I felt my stomach drop. In my name? Yes, he said. And if the company files charges, and they will, you will be implicated unless you take immediate legal action to separate yourself financially. My chest tightened, pulse quickening. Betrayal is one thing. Using my identity as collateral is something darker, something that strips away safety. And that's not the worst of it, Madsen continued, voice low. Your mother's house? The one bought with stolen funds? That was part of a larger scheme. Damari promised returns to someone, a private lender. Dangerous, the kind that doesn't call lawyers, the kind that sends people to collect. You're saying my mother is in danger? I'm saying anyone tied to Damari is. I leaned against my car, breath shallow. My anger had been clean tonight, sharp, righteous, controlled. This was messier. This was fear creeping back in, reminding me I wasn't just fighting pride or ego. I was fighting survival. What else is in here? I asked, tapping the envelope. Statements, accounts, evidence, and a name. He paused. Marcus. My cousin Marcus? Yes, the likely father of Chantel's baby, and also Damari's partner in the gambling ring. I stared at him stunned, cold spreading through my limbs. Betrayal wasn't a triangle, it was a damn web. Madsen, why are you telling me this now? Because I've seen this pattern before. Men like your husband, when everything starts collapsing, they find a scapegoat, and you're the perfect one. Smart, successful, emotionally vulnerable, with a clean record. Easy to frame, easy to blame. I swallowed hard. So what do I do? You document everything. You file for separation of assets immediately. And you make sure you have legal counsel ready. I nodded. Ayana's already on it. That's good. And one more thing. Damari's company started an internal audit today. I blanked. Today? Yes, someone tipped them off. My God. And when they pull the financial records, your name will come up. I pressed my fingers against my temples, breathing through a wave of nausea. So I'm on a clock. You're on a clock. He stepped closer. Nia, listen to me. You're not dealing with a petty liar. You're dealing with a man who's committed felonies, built alliances with dangerous people, and is about to face a federal investigation. He will do anything to save himself, and anyone he dragged into his mess will be casualties. I inhaled slowly, letting the truth settle. Not to break me, but to sharpen me. Why are you helping me? I asked, voice low. He shrugged. My wife went through something similar. Different crime, same type of man. She didn't survive it. His eyes dropped. I promised myself if I ever saw it unfolding again, I'd step in before it was too late. The wind cut colder, biting at my skin. Thank you, I said quietly. And I meant it. He gave a sad smile. Be careful, Nia. Winning this isn't about vengeance anymore. It's about protection. As he walked away, I opened the envelope. Pages of transactions, fake signatures, duplicate accounts, the ugly truth in black and white. And at the top of one sheet, my name, forged, dated 8 months ago. My chest tightened with fury, not the clean, theatrical rage from the dinner, but a deeper, harder anger, the kind that births resolve. I texted Ayanna, we have a bigger problem. I'm coming over. Prepare the paperwork. She replied instantly, I got you. Come through. I got in my car, the engine humming beneath my feet, and stared at myself in the mirror. I didn't look broken. I looked dangerous. As I cooled off the lot, my phone buzzed again, this time from Chantel. A message that made my blood run cold. Marcus knows. He's coming for you. I didn't respond to Chantel's text. I reread it twice, letting the words settle in like poison. Marcus knows. He's coming for you. Coming for me, like I was prey, like I was the problem, like I hadn't been quietly surviving the fallout of other people's recklessness for years. But Marcus wasn't Damari. He wasn't slick or strategic. He was impulsive, volatile, a man who moved fists first, logic later. And if he was tangled up in Damari's gambling scheme, and if he believed I had evidence that could destroy both of them, then his fear would manifest as aggression. Fearful men move fast. Desperate men move violently. I drove to Ayanna's apartment, eyes flicking to the rear view every few seconds, checking for cars that followed too closely or lights that stayed behind me too long. I wasn't paranoid. I was aware. There's a difference. When someone texts you a warning at midnight that a dangerous man is coming for you, awareness becomes survival instinct. Ayanna buzzed me in before I even got to the door, wearing sweatpants, hair in a messy bun, laptop open, printer spitting out forms like it was having a panic attack. Okay, she said, hands on her hips. Tell me everything, and don't leave out details because you think they'll stress me out. I'm already stressed. Let's go. I dropped the envelope on her dining table, watching her eyes widen at the thickness. Damari forged my name on bank accounts. He used my identity to launder money. And he's tied to a private lender who doesn't operate with contracts. They operate with threats. Ayanna blinked. So like, loan sharks? Worse. Okay, cool. Love that for us. She rubbed her temples. And your mother's house? At risk, possibly collateral. And she doesn't know because she doesn't bother to understand anything beyond her comfort. Ayanna shook her head. That woman is allergic to accountability. I pulled out the documents Matson gave me, sliding them toward her. There's more. Marcus is mixed up in this. And apparently, he knows I have evidence. Ayanna froze. Marcus? Like your cousin? Head-to-toe Gucci, thinks Hennessy counts as a personality trait? That one. She grimaced. And he's dangerous, Naya? I know. Ayanna leaned back, exhaling sharply. We need to file for emergency financial separation first thing in the morning, and we need a restraining order, but that requires proof of immediate threat. So unless Marcus texts something like, "I'm going to murder you," the system's going to act like you're being dramatic. I scoffed. Black women don't get protection. We get judged. Her eyes softened. Not for me, and not tonight. She grabbed a stack of papers. Sit, sign. I'll explain as we go. I signed document after document, feeling like I was untethering myself from a life I once thought was sacred. Marriage papers, joint account closures, statements of identity theft, affidavits, emergency petitions. Every signature felt like shedding skin. Every pen stroke felt like reclaiming dignity. Ayanna slid a cup of chamomile tea toward me. "Drink, your hands are shaking." I didn't realize they were until she said it. "It's not fear," I said quietly. "It's adrenaline." She sat beside me, voice gentle. "You're allowed to be scared, Naya." I stared at the papers. I don't have time. My phone buzzed again, one of those sharp, urgent vibrations that slices through silence. Ayanna nodded. "Check it." It was a message from an unknown number. "You think you're safe? Step outside." Ayanna inhaled sharply. "Oh, hell no." I stood, slowly, every nerve alert. We walked cautiously to Ayanna's living room, peeking through the blinds. A black SUV sat across the street, engine running, headlights off. Someone sat behind the wheel, body barely visible, face completely shadowed. Ayanna whispered, "Do you think that's..." "Yes." She reached for her phone. "I'm calling the police." "No," I said quickly. "Girl, what do you mean, no? Because if that's Marcus, and if the cops show up, he won't run. He'll escalate. And we're in your building, not mine. I'm not dragging you into this." Ayanna stared at me, exasperated. "You don't drag me in. I walk in. On purpose." I swallowed thickly, my voice low. "I can't risk you getting hurt." Her expression softened. "Naya, you're not doing this alone. Not anymore." We backed away from the window, lights off. My phone buzzed again. Another text. "You ruin families. I'll ruin you." Ayanna clenched her jaw. "That's a threat. Screenshot it. Send it to me. We'll use it to get the restraining order." I followed her instructions, fingers steady now. Anger made them steadier. There was a sudden, sharp knock on the door. 3 loud bangs that echoed through the apartment like gunshots. Ayanna froze. "Oh my God." I whispered, "Do not open that door." She backed up. The knocking came again, louder, accompanied by a voice. "Ayanna, open up, it's Nate." Ayanna sagged with relief. "It's my neighbor." "Are you sure?" "Yes, voice recognition, honey. I'm fluent." She opened the door a crack. A tall man with dreads and a nose ring stood in the hallway holding a grocery mag. "You left your Instacart order downstairs. I thought you needed it now." Ayanna blinked, stunned. "Oh my God, I forgot I ordered food." Nate lifted his brow. "Y'all okay? Y'all look like you watched a horror movie and learned it was based on your life." Ayanna and I glanced at each other. "Something like that," I murmured. His eyes shifted, noticing the tension, the darkness inside the apartment, the silence. "You need anything? I'm up all night. Just knock." Ayanna nodded. "Thank you."
He left, and Ayanna shut the door, locking it twice. We sat on the couch, both of us breathing shallowly. "How long do you think he'll sit there?" she asked. "Until he gets what he wants, or until someone forces him to leave?" Ayanna leaned forward. "Naya, listen, you're in danger, not emotional danger, physical danger. And I need you to stop being stoic long enough to admit that." Her eyes weren't accusing, they were pleading. I swallowed. "I'm not stoic. I'm just tired of being the weak one. I spent a year crying in bathrooms over infertility that wasn't even mine. I spent a year believing I was broken. Damari built his entire identity on watching me crumble. I refuse to give him, or anyone connected to him, that satisfaction again." Ayanna's voice softened. "Strength doesn't mean silence." "No. But clarity does." I stood, walking back to the table, gathering documents into neat piles. The SUV was still outside. Marcus was still waiting, but so was Dawn. And I decided that surviving this wasn't optional. It was mandatory. Ayanna joined me. "So, what's the plan?" I looked at the stack of evidence, then at her, voice steady, strong, unshakable. "First, we get ahead of the investigation. Then, we get protection. Then, once we're safe, I'm burning down everything they built." Before she could respond, a loud crash shattered the silence, glass breaking from somewhere outside. Ayanna gasped, "What was that?" I looked toward the window, heart pounding, adrenaline spiking. Someone had thrown a brick through her car windshield, and attached to it was a note with my name written in bold, black ink. Ayanna stared at the shattered glass like it had personally insulted her education. "Oh, hell no," she whispered, voice trembling between fear and fury. I moved to the broken window, peering down 3 stories to the parking lot. Her silver Honda sat in shards, windshield caved inward, glittering under the street lamp like fractured ice. The brick lay centered in the devastation, wrapped in notebook paper, tied with string. Someone wanted symbolism, drama, intimidation. "Don't touch it," I said instinctively. "We need prints, evidence." Ayanna crossed her arms. "We need a gun." "Ayanna, girl, I'm from Detroit, not Disneyland. Breaking my car is an act of war." Even through the tension, I almost laughed. Almost. But the fear hummed beneath my skin, constant, low, electric. Marcus didn't just want to scare me. He wanted to send a message. A physical, destructive warning that he wasn't just angry. He was unhinged. I took a breath. "We need to call the police now." Ayanna hesitated, eyes darting toward the hallway as if Marcus would kick down the door. "If we call the cops, you know what happens. They'll assume you provoked something. They'll minimize the threat. They'll think this is a family dispute instead of a criminal act." She wasn't wrong. Black women are rarely seen as victims unless we're bleeding, broken, or dead. But I stepped closer to the window, voice hardening. "We call anyway. Not because they'll save us, because we need documentation, paper trail, dates, timestamps, evidence that someone threatened me before everything explodes." Ayanna nodded slowly, understanding. "Receipts." Yes, legal receipts. Before she dialed, she glanced at me. "You stay away from windows. If he's still down there, he'll aim higher next time."
I stepped back into the shadows, heart pounding. I hated that I was afraid. But ignoring fear doesn't make it disappear. It makes it tactical. Ayana called 911, voice controlled, professional. Someone vandalized my vehicle. Brick through the windshield. Threat attached. Address is... She paused, listened, then added firmly, "We have reason to believe the perpetrator is armed and watching the building." That got their attention. "We'll send units," the operator responded. Ayana hung up and exhaled shakily. 15 to 20 minutes. Long enough for him to leave. Or escalate. We stood in silence, listening for footsteps, engines, anything. But the night settled. Quiet, eerie. The SUV was gone. No headlights, no shadow, no figure lurking with malicious patience, just broken glass and a note waiting to be read. Ayana moved toward the kitchen and poured whiskey into 2 mismatched mugs. We need something stronger than tea. I accepted mine and took a burning sip. "Let's open the note." Ayana raised a brow. "You sure? Could be explosive, or poisonous, or one of those glitter bombs the internet keeps talking about." Marcus doesn't do glitter. He does rage. We carefully unwrapped the paper, using a pen to lift the string. Inside, thick black handwriting stalked across the page. "Stay quiet, or you won't survive this." Ayana let out a low whistle, straight to the point. I read it twice, letting the threat sink into my bones, not to paralyze me, but to remind me what I was dealing with. Men who gamble with money, gamble with lives. And men who can't control their own chaos try to control others through fear. "Screenshot it," Ayana said. "Send it to me." I took a picture. "We'll add it to the restraining order." She nodded. "Judge sees this, even they'll get nervous." I placed the note beside the stack of evidence on the table. Layers of lies, crime, manipulation, deception. A paper trail of the life I unknowingly co-signed. Ayana set down her whiskey, eyes softening. "How long, Nia? How long were you living with a man who was doing all of this, and you didn't even know it?" I sank into a chair, exhaustion hitting harder than fear. Years. Damari lived 2 lives, the one I thought we shared, and the one he built behind my back. And I think he enjoyed the secrecy. I think he got off on it. Ayana leaned forward. "Baby, that's not normal marital miscommunication. That's sociopathy." "I know. He lied about infertility. He manipulated you emotionally. He used your identity financially. He cheated with your sister. He bought your mother's loyalty. He groomed everyone around you into puppets. That's not a man struggling. That's a man strategizing." I took a tear, threatened, but forced them down. "I don't want to cry over him anymore." "You're not crying over him. You're grieving the version of you who trusted him. That's different." Before I could respond, headlights flashed through the blinds, 2 patrol cars pulling in. Ayana sighed. Time for the performance. We met the officers downstairs, 2 white men, one young and bored, one older and impatient. They examined the car, took photos, asked predictable questions. When Ayana told them the vandalism was connected to a threat toward me, their energy shifted from bored to dismissive. "What kind of threat?" the younger one asked. I handed him the note. He read it, expression blank. "Okay, but do you know this person? Like, personally?" "Yes," I said tightly. "He's my cousin." "So this is a family dispute." I clenched my fists. "This is a violent threat." He shrugged. "Hard to separate those things." Ayana stepped forward, tone sharp. "Sir, someone threw a brick through my car. That's a felony. That's not a disagreement over potato salad." The officer sighed. "Look, we'll file a report. Insurance will handle the rest." "And the threat," I asked, "document it. If something else happens, call us." "If something else happens, I might not be alive." He blinked, uncomfortable. The older officer scribbled notes without looking up. "Just be careful." They left without offering protection, without asking if we felt safe, without even pretending to care. When they drove away, Ayana muttered, "We call them for help and end up helping ourselves." I stared at the shattered car. Black women are emergency responders to our own emergencies.
We headed back upstairs, adrenaline fading, dread settling in its place. Inside, the apartment felt smaller, more fragile, like the walls themselves were bracing for impact. Ayanna sat on the couch, voice tired. "Do you regret exposing them tonight?" "No." "You sure?" "Yes. The truth needed to come out." "And now?" "Now the truth has consequences." Ayanna nodded slowly. "So what's next?" I looked at the evidence, the documents, the threats, and the future I hadn't planned for. We survive tonight, and then we go to war tomorrow. She nodded slowly. "And Marcus?" I glanced at my phone, no new messages, but the weight of his silence pressed on my chest. He won't stop until something forces him to. Ayanna frowned. "What forces a man like him to stop?" I met her eyes. Fear. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time, a photo. A picture of my house. Empty driveway. Lights on. Front door open. Caption: "See you soon." The picture of my house lit up my phone screen like a threat wrapped in familiarity. The porch light glowed, casting a pale triangle over the front steps. The door stood open, a dark, silent mouth waiting for something to walk inside. The caption, "See you soon," felt less like a promise and more like a countdown. My breath caught, not because I feared going home, but because danger had reached a place that once held safety, memories, softness. That house represented a marriage that was already dead before I knew it had been murdered. Ayanna leaned over my shoulder. "Did he break in, or is he just waiting?" "I don't know," I whispered. She snatched the phone, zooming in. "Lights on, no car in the driveway, door wide open. That's staged." "Yes," I said, nodding slowly. "He wants me to see it." "And do what? Run home alone like I'm in a horror movie?" She scoffed. "Nah, wrong girl, wrong storyline, wrong damn audience." Despite the fear, I almost smiled. Ayanna was cut from titanium. She could be terrified and hilarious at the same time. It kept us alive. Sanity needs laughter when everything else feels like collapse. My chest tightened, a mix of dread and anger swirling low in my gut. He's escalating because he thinks I'm isolated, vulnerable. Ayanna shook her head. "He thinks you're the same Nia you were before you found that email. Soft, confused, weak. But baby, that girl died 6 weeks ago." I sank onto her couch, rubbing my face. "I don't want to go back there tonight." "You're not," she said simply. "You're staying here." I stared at her. "I can't drag you into this." She laughed, sharp and humorless. "Honey, I walked into this with intention. My name is on legal paperwork now. I'm your emergency contact and co-conspirator. I'm already in the story." I exhaled shakily. "Okay, but then we move smart. That's the only way I know how." She poured us another round of whiskey, less because we wanted it, more because our nerves demanded sedation, and sat across from me. "Let's break this down. Marcus being at your house means one of 3 things. He wants to lure you there, he wants to vandalize more, or he wants to wait until you show up so he can corner you." "He's not stupid enough to kill me," I murmured. Ayanna raised a brow. "Girl, desperation makes people stupid, especially men who bet their futures at a craps table instead of building real lives." I swallowed, thinking of Marcus, his loud laugh, his expensive sneakers, his fake watch collection, his loud, charismatic bravado masking chronic insecurity. Marcus wasn't evil like Damari. He was chaotic, the kind of chaotic that burns everything to avoid admitting he lost. My phone buzzed again, another message. "You think you're safe? I can get to anyone." Ayanna grimaced. "He's taunting you now." "No," I said softly, "he's unraveling." And that's when they're most dangerous. The adrenaline spike was sharp and sudden. We need leverage. We have evidence. We need more. Ayanna rolled her eyes. "Girl, you already uncovered embezzlement, identity theft, infertility fraud, family betrayal, and the fact that your marriage was one giant psychological horror film. What more you want?" "I want a weapon," I said quietly. "A what?" "Not literally, strategically. Something that stops him before he acts. Something that makes him realize hurting me hurts him worse." Ayanna tilted her head. "So we need dirt on Marcus."
Yes. She opened her laptop. Financials, criminal record, baby mamas, social media stupidity, pick your poison. This isn't about humiliation, I said. This is about survival. So survival with receipts. I nodded. Ayana typed with fury, fingers flying over the keys like they held vengeance. Okay, Marcus has 3 prior charges. Bar fights, domestic disturbances, 1 DUI. Nothing major, no jail time. But he has unpaid child support, 2 pending warrants for missed appearances. And, oh wait, what? She smirked darkly. He has a concealed carry charge pending. Illegal firearm possession. Judge gave him 30 days to show up with proof of registration. He missed the deadline. I blinked. He's got a gun? At least 1. And if cops catch him with it, automatic jail. I sat back, heart pounding. So if he escalates, if he shows up again, he's risking prison. Ayana nodded. Yes, and he knows it. So the fear we need is already there. Yes, we just need to use it. Before we could strategize further, a knock at the door sent us both into fight or flight. Not banging. This time 3 soft taps. Ayana mouthed silently. Nate? I shook my head. Nate was the type to knock like he was late to a party, not hiding a secret. Ayana walked to the door slowly, phone in hand, pepper spray tucked inside her hoodie pocket. She didn't open it, just spoke through it. Who is it? A muffling voice, low, male, unfamiliar, responded, delivery. We didn't order anything, she said. Silence, then a soft chuckle. You didn't. I did. Every hair on my body stood. Ayana's voice hardened. Leave the package and go. The man whispered, Tell Nia I said hi. My blood froze. Ayana took 2 steps back, eyes wide. He knows where you're staying. My mind raced. He had followed me, tracked me, or someone tipped him. Either way, he wasn't stupid. He wasn't guessing. He knew. Ayana whispered, Should we call the cops again? No, I said. No, girl, yes. If police show up, he'll run. We need him to leave something behind. Ayana stared. Something like what? A crime. Meaning? A fingerprint, DNA, a weapon, anything that ties us tonight. You want to bait him? I want to document him. Ayana dragged her hand down her face. This is some CSI Hood edition. The man's footsteps retreated. A door slammed. Silence. Ayana peeked through the peephole. He's gone. Package is there. What is it? Looks like, a shoebox. My pulse spiked. Don't touch it. Ayana grabbed gloves from under her sink because she was the kind of black woman who had gloves for crime scenes and picked up the box. We set it on the kitchen table, slowly opened it. Inside was a newborn onesie, pink, with the words, Daddy's Princess. Ayana covered her mouth. Oh my God! I stared, icy panic blooming into dread. Marcus didn't want to scare me. He wanted to remind me there was a baby wrapped up in all this mess. Innocent, vulnerable, unprotected. Ayana whispered, What kind of man uses a baby as a threat? The kind who sees children as collateral. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed again. Another picture. This one of Marcus, holding Chantel by the arm, her face bruised. Caption, Fix this or she pays. The picture burned itself into my mind before I even realized I was holding my breath. Marcus gripping Chantel's arm so tightly, her skin bunched beneath his fingers. A bruise already coloring along her cheekbone, swollen and purple at the edges. She wasn't crying in the photo, but her eyes carried that hollow, glassy look of someone who knows begging won't save them. The caption, Fix this or she pays, landed like a slap. Not because I cared about Chantel, because there was a child, an unborn child who didn't choose any of this chaos. Ayana stared stiffly, jaw clenched. Okay, this just crossed from messy to violent hostage situation. She's pregnant, I whispered, and he's using her as leverage. He doesn't care about her, I said, voice tight. She's a pawn, like I was. Ayana's eyes softened for a half second before hardening again. We need to call the police. Domestic violence, hostage threat, pregnant victim. This is textbook intervention. I shook my head. For white women, yes. She winced. Knowing I wasn't being bitter, I was being factual. We call, they show up, they ask questions, and she'll lie. Because he's threatening her, and because she's terrified, and because she'd rather protect her pride than protect her unborn child. Ayana rubbed her forehead. But we can't just do nothing. My mind churned. Logic versus emotion. Justice versus survival. I sat down staring at the image again, the weight of betrayal shifting shape. I wanted her to feel consequences, I admitted. I wanted her to experience shame, accountability, responsibility. I swallowed. But I didn't want this. I didn't want her pregnant and bruised and afraid for her life. Ayana nodded slowly. Abuse doesn't care if someone deserves karma. It only knows escalation. The room felt too small. Our breaths too loud. Ayana paced, processing. What's his angle? What does he want you to fix? He wants silence, I said. He wants me to retract everything. He wants me to play dumb, pretend I don't have evidence, pretend he didn't threaten me, pretend I don't exist as a danger to him. But why you, Chantel? Ayana asked. Because she's the only person I'd hesitate to sacrifice. Ayana blinked. Do you care about her? I exhaled slowly. I don't care about her safety because I love her. I care because if she dies, I don't get to choose how I heal. Trauma decides, and I'm not giving trauma that power again. Ayana dropped onto the couch beside me. So what's the move? I stared at the pile of documents, the physical evidence of Damari's sins, and then at the baby Unzi, the emotional evidence of Marcus's threat. We need to weaken Marcus's leverage, not by cooperating, by removing what he thinks he controls. Ayana raised her eyebrow. Meaning? We find Chantel. We get her away from him. Ayana's eyes widened. You want to rescue the woman who tried to destroy your life? Yes. Ayana stared at me like she was evaluating my sanity. Nia, I need you to understand something. Saving someone from a man like Marcus isn't poetic. It's dangerous. He doesn't negotiate. He retaliates. I know. And if we intervene and fail, he won't just hurt her. He'll come after you. I nodded. He already is. Ayana exhaled. Do you know where she is? I shook my head. But I know someone who might. Ayana groaned. If you say your mother, I swear... My mother. I finished. She slapped her forehead dramatically. Jesus, take the wheel and the registration. Despite everything, a laugh escaped me. Sharp, brief, exhausted. My mother isn't innocent, but she isn't stupid. And Marcus won't involve her unless he wants something from her. Ayana sighed. We're calling her? No, we're visiting. Her eyes widened. Tonight? Yes. Ayana, it's almost 2 a.m, and someone's life is on a clock. She grabbed her keys, resigned. If I die tonight, I'm haunting you. Fair. We left the apartment, documents hidden, lights off, tension thick. The night air cut cold against my skin, and the sound of distant traffic echoed with the eerie calm of a city unaware of the war unfolding in its shadows. As we walked toward Iona's car, she glanced sideways. Hey, I need you to say something. Out loud. What? That you're scared. Why? Because if you don't admit fear, you'll do something reckless instead of strategic. Fear slows you down, keeps you alive. I opened my mouth, closed it, tried again. I'm scared, I said quietly, voice fragile but real. Not of him, of what I'm becoming in response to him. Ayana nodded. Good. Fear means you're human. Strategy means you're dangerous. We slid into the car, doors shutting like armor.
Ayana pulled onto the street, light streaking past in a blur. The freeway stretched ahead, empty, humming with possibility and threat. My phone buzzed again. Not from Marcus. Not from a threat. A video. I pressed play. The screen filled with motion, Chantel tied to a chair, crying silently, mascara streaked, hair wild. Marcus paced behind her, gun visible in his hand. He leaned into the camera, eyes bloodshot, voice slurred with rage and adrenaline. He leaned into the camera, eyes bloodshot, voice slurred with rage and adrenaline. He snarled at the screen. You want to burn everything down? Cool, but I swear to God, if I go down, she goes with me. He lifted the gun toward her head. She sobbed. I gasped. Ayana slammed on the brakes. Oh my God! Marcus smiled into the camera. Wide, manic, terrifying. You got 12 hours, sweetheart. Fix this or watch her die. The screen went black. Ayana whispered, we need the police, we need FBI, we need SWAT, we need divine intervention. I stared straight ahead, pulse steady, voice low. No, we need a plan. Nia, that man is holding a pregnant woman hostage. I know. And you are not a superhero. I met her eyes. Cold clarity settling over me like armor. No. I'm his worst enemy. Because I know his secrets, I know his weaknesses, and I'm not afraid to use them. But how? She demanded. I took a breath. We don't fight him with force. We fight him with fear. Ayana stared. What kind of fear? The kind that makes unstable men self-destruct. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed again. Not from Marcus. From an unknown number.
Marcus isn't the only one who wants you silenced. You don't know how deep this goes. Ayana whispered. What the hell does that mean? I looked out the window at the dark road ahead. It means we're not fighting one enemy. My voice dropped to a whisper. We're fighting an entire network built on secrets, money, and violence. Ayana swallowed hard. So what do we do now? I answered without hesitation. We find Chantel before Marcus does something irreversible, and we dismantle his world one truth at a time. She nodded, knuckles white on the steering wheel. And after that, I stared at the glowing city skyline, heart pounding with new purpose. After that, I said, I make sure no one ever confuses my silence with weakness again. Ayana pressed her foot to the gas, speed building, tension rising. Somewhere in the city, a woman I once called sister sat bound to a chair, and I, the woman they tried to destroy, was driving straight into the fire to pull her out. Not because she deserved saving, but because I deserved to win. We drove through the city like fugitives chasing ghosts, streetlights slicing through the darkness in streaks of pale gold, casting Ayana's determined face into sharp angles. My phone sat in my lap, screen black, but the weight of the last video pressed against me like invisible hands around my throat. Somewhere in this sprawling, indifferent city, my sister sat tied to a chair with a gun aimed at her head. A woman who slept in my bed when we were little. A woman who stole my husband and plotted my humiliation. A woman who was carrying a child who deserved none of this. Ayana broke the silence first. Your mom lives 20 minutes away. We need to think about how we approach this. If Marcus has been there, she might be compromised. She's always been compromised, I muttered, just not in the ways she thought. Ayana shot me a glance. Nia, focus. I inhaled deeply, steadying myself. Survival requires compartmentalization. You cannot save lives while drowning in your own emotions. I'm not assuming she'll help, I said. I'm assuming she'll protect herself. If she knows where Chantel is, she'll give it up to keep her own house from burning. And if she doesn't, then she'll lie. And we'll read the lie. Ayana tightened her grip on the wheel. Okay, behavioral analysis mode. I like it. But beneath her sarcasm, there was a tremor of fear. Not the kind that paralyzes you, the kind that sharpens you. We pulled into my mother's neighborhood, rows of identical suburban homes with manicured lawns and wreaths on the doors, pretending nothing bad ever happened behind their curtains. My stomach twisted. The house Damari bought her, using stolen money, looked beautiful in the soft glow of porch lights. Clean, comfortable, safe. A home built on betrayal always has the audacity to look welcoming. We parked 2 houses down. We approach cautiously. We don't know who's inside. I nodded, slipping my phone into my pocket. My hands trembled, not from fear of Marcus, but from the confrontation brewing between me and the woman who birthed me, but never protected me. We knocked twice. Light filtered through the frosted glass, shadow moving behind it. The door slung open and my mother stood there. Silk robe, hair wrapped, eyes puffy from sleep or tears, I couldn't tell. She stared at me with confusion, then annoyance. Why are you here at this hour? Ayana stepped up. We need to talk. Now. My mother's gaze slid to her, irritation sharpening. You don't talk to me like I'm your child. No, but I will talk to you like someone who helped destroy mine. Her nostrils flared, but she stepped aside grudgingly. Get in before the neighbors see you out here acting a fool. Ayana muttered under her breath. Girl, we are in crisis, not on stage at the HOA Awards. My mother's living room looked like a magazine spread. White furniture, glossy floors, gold accents, expensive art that didn't match anything, like she bought status, but not taste. The house smelled of vanilla and lavender, warm and soft, the kind of home people think represents peace. It represented blood money. Where is Chantel? I asked immediately. She blinked, mask dropping into practiced calm. I don't know. You hesitated. That poker face. She shot me a glance. I don't answer to you. I stepped closer. Mom, listen to me. She's in danger. Marcus has her. He sent pictures, videos. He's armed. He's unstable. He's threatening to kill her if I don't retract everything. My mother hand flew to her chest. Kill her? But she's... Oh, Lord. Pregnant? Ayana supplied. Yeah. Welcome to the nightmare. My mother sank into a chair, body trembling. Marcus came here earlier. He was angry, pacing, sweating. He kept saying you ruined everything. He said he needed money fast. And you gave it to him? I asked flatly. Her silence was the answer. Ayana cursed under her breath. She financed the hostage situation? Great. I didn't know. My mother snapped. He said he and Chantel needed help. He said they were about to lose everything. And you believed him? I asked. She swallowed. I wanted to believe somebody. The statement hit harder than any slap she'd ever given me, because it wasn't vulnerability. It was selfishness masquerading as love. You didn't ask questions because you didn't want answers. You didn't care who got hurt as long as it wasn't you. Her face cracked. I didn't know what Damari did with the money. I thought it was legal. Blessings. You thought fraud money was a blessing? Ayana spat. God works in mysterious ways. No. Men do, and they worked you. My mother covered her face, voice small. What do you need from me? I looked her dead in the eyes. Where is Chantel? Her lips parted. Marcus said something about an old building by the river. He didn't say which one. Ayana pulled out her phone. There are 3 abandoned warehouses. Too many hiding spots. Too many entrances. We'll check them all, I said. No, Ayana said. We need strategy, not blind rescue missions. I stared at her. She has 12 hours. 12. And he's drunk, armed, and terrified. We wait too long, he won't need leverage. He'll have regret. Ayana rubbed her temples. Do you realize we're 2 black women planning to storm an abandoned warehouse to free a hostage from a violent criminal? Yes. And what's our tactical advantage? I lifted the folder of documents. This. Ayana blinked. Paperwork? Not paperwork. Leverage. Evidence. The only thing Marcus fears more than prison is exposure. If I can make him believe he loses if she dies, he'll bargain. And if he doesn't bargain, my voice dropped, then we improvise. My mother looked at me, really looked, and something like fear flickered. Not fear of Marcus, fear of me. You're not the same girl. No, I'm the woman who survived her. We turned to leave, but my mother grabbed my hand. Nia, he said something else. What? He said Damari wasn't the one who started this, that someone else planned everything, someone bigger, someone who still wants you gone. Ayana froze. Who? She shook her head. He didn't say. He just said, we all made deals we couldn't keep. I swallowed hard. So Marcus isn't the mastermind. No. He's a pawn too. We stepped into the night, air colder than before, wind sharp against our skin. Ayana started the car, tension thick. Looks like your family tree is a crime syndicate, she said bitterly. Looks like my marriage was just the entry point, I replied. We pulled away, city lights fading behind us. Which warehouse first? Ayana asked. I answered slowly. The one near the pier. It's isolated, windy, loud. Easier to hide screaming. Ayana shivered. Jesus. I stared out the window, heart hammering, but mind razor sharp. What's the plan when we get there? She asked. I answered slowly. We confront him. We negotiate. We stall. And if that fails... Ayana looked at me. We run? No. We fight. Because I wasn't walking into that warehouse as the woman Damari broke. I was walking in as the woman he accidentally forged. And I wasn't leaving without the one thing they never expected me to save. The life they used as leverage. The warehouse near the pier looked like a dying monument, rusted steel ribs and broken windows, hulking over the river with a kind of forgotten authority. The wind snapped off the water, cold and vicious, carrying the smell of damp wood and gasoline. Ayana parked 2 blocks away, engine off, headlights dark. Neither of us spoke for a full minute. Silence wasn't fear, it was calculation. Lights, she whispered, pointing. A single bulb glowed near a side entrance, flickering like a bad omen. He's in there. Or someone is. Ayana adjusted the pepper spray in her pocket, though we both knew it was a laughable defense against a man waving a gun in a hostage video. You ready? She asked. No, I said honestly, but I don't need to be ready. I need to be clear. We moved fast but cautious, hugging shadows, footsteps swallowed by gravel and wind. My pulse thudded in my ears, but my mind was strangely still, like fear had exhausted itself and left behind a hardened core. Strength that wasn't adrenaline, something colder. At the door, I stopped Ayana with a hand. Let me lead. If he sees you first, he might see opportunity for collateral. I swear to God, if I die because your family is messy, you won't die. You don't know that. No, but I'm planning like I do. I pushed the door open. Rusted hinges screamed, loud enough to alert the dead. Echoes bounced around the cavernous interior. The warehouse was huge, cavernous, illuminated by a handful of hanging lights that cast sharp, dramatic pools of illumination on dirty concrete. And then I saw her. Chantel sat in the middle of the room, tied to a metal chair, wrists bound, ankles bound, duct tape across her mouth. She shook violently when she saw me, whether from relief or fear, I couldn't tell. Her hair was matted, face swollen, mascara smeared into bruised shadows. She looked less like the girl who strutted through life and more like a child trapped in an adult nightmare. Iona exhaled. Oh my God. I stepped forward, slow, cautious, aware. Chantel? She widened her eyes, filling with tears. She shook her head frantically, jerking against the restraints. No, she was saying, no, don't. A voice cut through the space. Well, look who showed up. Marcus stepped out of the shadows like a monster rehearsing a performance. Hoodie, jeans, boots, gun in hand. He looked worse than in the video. Eyes red, wild, face sunken, hair unkempt. His body vibrated with chaotic energy, like violence was the only language his muscles recognized. Ayana whispered, "That man is high. Not drunk, high, on terror, adrenaline, and maybe something synthetic." Marcus lifted the gun lazily. "You brought a friend. Cute. Reinforcements never help when you're outnumbered." My voice came out steady, controlled. "You're outnumbered, Marcus. You versus the law, evidence, time, logic." He laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "You really think the law cares about you, about me, about her?" He jabbed the gun toward Chantel. "Black women are invisible unless they're useful, and right now, she's useful." I stepped forward. "She's pregnant." He scoffed. "You think that matters? A baby don't fix debt." Ayana hissed. "A baby sure as hell shouldn't die because you're reckless." Marcus's eyes snapped to her. "Shut up before I make you." Ayana lifted her hand slowly. "Easy." I moved between them. "Marcus, listen. I have something that can help you." His eyes narrowed. "Money?" "No. Leverage." He blinked, thrown off. "What?" "Evidence that puts Damari at the center of everything, not you." Marcus stiffened, pride and fear colliding. "Damari didn't force me into anything." "Maybe not, but you think Damari cares about you? He's already building a narrative, and you're the perfect fall guy." He laughed again, but it cracked at the edges. Fear had roots growing beneath his bravado. "Damari's going down either way. Everybody knows that. But you don't have to go down with them." Chantel whimpered behind the tape, eyes pleading. Marcus glanced back impatiently, waving the gun like an extension of his rage. "Stop crying, damn. You got us into this." Ayana whispered. "He's blaming her for his failures." I ignored her. "Marcus, listen. I have something that can help you. My bank statements, accounts, recordings, investigator notes. Everything that proves Damari used you as a financial mule. And it's notarized, legal, documented. If I send it to the district attorney, Damari goes federal time. But I can redact your name." Marcus blinked. "Redact? Me?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because saving her life saves you." He stared at me, stunned. Ayana added, "You kill her, you're done. No deals, no reductions, no negotiation. You go to prison for life. And they don't put men like you in safe units. They put you in pits." Marcus's eyes darted between us, breath quick, chest heaving. His bravado cracked, and beneath it, I saw desperation. Real desperation. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he whispered. "I was just trying to get ahead. Everybody else got something. I wanted something too." "You can still save something," I said softly. "But this isn't control. This is collapse." He looked at Chantel again, and for a flicker of a moment, I thought he might lower the gun. Then heavy footsteps echoed behind us. Slow, confident, unrushed. Marcus tensed. The gun lifted again, not toward us, but toward the sound. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Tall, broad-shouldered, expensive coat, polished shoes, calm eyes. Not a criminal in panic, a businessman. And behind him, 2 men in suits. He smiled at me. "Hello, Nia." My blood turned ice. Marcus backed up, panicked. "She's not supposed to be here. You said—" He held up a finger. Marcus fell silent instantly, like a child scolded. He turned to me. "I've been waiting to meet you." Ayana's whisper trembled. "Who the hell is that?" I didn't answer, because I recognized him. Not personally, but from headlines. A real estate mogul, a venture capital shark, a man with political friends, a man who bankrolls risk and disposes of liabilities. He smiled wider. "I understand you've been disruptive to our operations?" "Your operations?" "Yes. The network Damari bought his way into with stolen money, the network Marcus is now jeopardizing with stupidity." Marcus flinched. "Hey, quiet." Marcus shut his mouth instantly. He took a slow, elegant step forward. "You acquired evidence, you exposed crimes, you destabilized assets, and now you're here, trying to disrupt the cleanup." Ayana whispered, "Cleanup?" He smiled at Chantel. "Loose ends." Chantel screamed through the tape. He nodded, almost politely. "Kill her first." Marcus stared, horrified. "Wait, what? You said—" "You failed," the man said, bored. "Failure has consequences." He nodded again. "Do it." Marcus trembled. Gun raised, pointed at Chantel. Her eyes pleaded. Ayana gasped, and I stepped forward. "Stop." My voice cracked like a whip. Everyone froze, even the man in the coat. I stared him down, not a criminal, but a king. "You kill her, and every document I have goes public, automatically." He smiled thinly. "Insurance? Yes. Automatic releases are easy to bluff, not when they're scheduled." His expression shifted, barely, but enough. He studied me, calculating, weighing cost versus outcome. "You don't scare easy," he said. "No. You should. Maybe." He paused, then nodded to his men, not Marcus. "Take her." Marcus sputtered, panicked. "Wait, what about me?" He didn't even glance at him. "You're finished." 2 men moved toward Chantel. Fast, silent, professional. One of the men cut Chantel loose. She collapsed into their arms, sobbing, shaking, small. They dragged her toward the exit. The man turned back to me. "You're intelligent, strategic, controlled. I respect that." He smiled. "Which is why I'm giving you a head start." My heart stopped. "A head start? For what?" He buttoned his coat. "For the war you just declared." And with that, he walked away. Men, hostage, danger, empire, all walking out like the scene was finished, leaving me with one last truth. I hadn't saved Chantel. I just exposed the empire willing to kill her. Ayana whispered, "What the hell did we just walk into?" I stared at the empty doorway, pulse roaring. A war built on money, secrets, and power. "And now?" she asked. I swallowed. We just became their biggest problem. The wind howled through broken windows, lights flickering like dying stars. Marcus stood alone in the warehouse, gun shaking in his hand, whispering to no one. "What have I done?" I turned to him, not with sympathy, but with grim understanding. You helped build a monster, and now we have to survive it. Before he could respond, a gunshot cracked through the warehouse. Like the gunshot wasn't a sound. It was a force, a concussion that ripped through the warehouse like a thunderclap, reverberating up the steel beams and into my bones. Light burst and shattered overhead, raining sparks and glass, turning the room into a dull orange flicker of chaos and shadows. I hit the ground instinctively, arms over my head, mouth full of dust and metal, heart pounding so loud I couldn't hear my own breath. For a split second, I couldn't tell if I'd been hit or if the world had just exploded around me. I lay frozen, waiting for pain, waiting for blood, waiting for the darkness to swallow me whole. Then I heard it, groaning. Not mine. Ayanna. I turned, dizzy, scrambled through dust and debris until I saw her crawling out from under a collapsed light fixture, coughing, eyes squeezed shut, hair covered in glittering glass. "Are you good?" I yelled, pulling her toward me, checking her hands, her face, her chest. She nodded, weak but alive. "I'm fine, just shaken. What the hell was that?" I didn't answer because I didn't know. The shot hadn't come from Marcus. He stood 10 feet away, paralyzed, gun dangling from his hand, face pale, eyes glassy. Not menacing. Terrified. "I didn't shoot," he whispered, shaking. "I swear to God I didn't shoot." Before I could respond, a side door slammed, metal hitting concrete with a violent echo. Heavy footsteps ran away into the night. Someone had fired a shot, killed the lights, and vanished. But why? To distract? To intimidate? Or to silence someone? I turned toward Marcus again, and that's when I saw it. Blood. A dark smear blooming through his white t-shirt, right below the ribs. He stared down at it, confusion flickering across his face like he couldn't quite compute that he was wounded. "Am I hit?" he whispered. I didn't even feel it." He stumbled, knees buckling. Ayanna gasped, and we both grabbed him instinctively, lowering him to the concrete before he collapsed like dead weight. His breath came in ragged, shallow bursts, blood slicking our hands, warm and too real. "Marcus," I said firmly, gripping his face, "look at me. Stay conscious." He blinked up at me, pupils blown wide, skin gray. "He shot me," he whispered, voice small. "They shot me because I failed." Ayanna ripped a scarf from her coat and pressed it hard against the wound. "He needs a hospital, now," she said. I shook my head. "If we call an ambulance, the men in the suits will know. They'll intercept. He'll never make it there alive." "So what do we do?" Ayanna demanded. I stared at Marcus, this reckless, selfish, broken man who had threatened to kill Chantel, who had destroyed lives, who had dragged me into hell, and now, in the span of a single gunshot, was reduced to something painfully human, someone who never stood a chance against the machinery he'd been feeding. "What do you want?" I asked him, voice steady. His eyes landed on me, full of regret, real regret, not performative, not manipulative. "I didn't know what they were," he whispered. "I thought they were just investors, men who could help me, men who had money to lend. But they're not. They're not human. They don't care who dies. They don't care about babies, family, nothing. They own everything." I swallowed, throat burning. "Why did you show me Chantel? Why did you threaten her? Why did you make me come here?" He closed his eyes, tears streaking through the dirt on his face. "I thought if you fixed it for Damari, you could fix it for me. I thought you could make them stop. I thought you were the smartest person I knew. I thought you could save me." His confession gutted me, not because it redeemed him, but because it revealed how broken he was. A man raised in a world where power meant survival, where desperate acts were currency, where morality was a luxury none of us could afford. Ayanna looked at me, urgency in her eyes. "We're wasting time. He's dying." Marcus clutched my wrist with surprising force. They're going to come. Not for me. For you. They don't leave loose ends unless they belong to them. My brain snapped into survival mode. Where are they taking Chantel? He swallowed, struggling to breathe. Not a warehouse. A house. Big, empty, old. He coughed, blood spotting his lips. They keep people there while they decide what to do with them. Ayanna stiffened. Decide? Marcus nodded weakly. If they're valuable, they negotiate. If not, they disappear. Chantel wasn't valuable. She was baggage, evidence, liability. But she was also pregnant. And if they killed her, the baby would die too. Marcus, stay with me, I commanded. Tell me who the man is, the one in the coat, his name. Marcus opened his mouth, but no sound came. His eyelids fluttered, his body trembled. Ayanna pressed harder on the wound. Marcus, wake up. But he was drifting, slipping. I didn't mean to hurt her. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted something that was mine. His body slackened. His breath stuttered. Marcus? Ayanna whispered. No response. I pressed 2 fingers to his neck. Weak pulse. Fading. He wasn't gone. Not yet. But close. Ayanna grabbed my arms. We can't let him die on a warehouse floor. He deserves due process, justice. I shook my head. He deserves something better than being another black man that nobody mourns. But I also knew saving him meant risking our lives, because whoever shot him didn't want him alive. And if they found us helping him, they'd kill us too. I looked around the warehouse, scanning for movement, listening for footsteps, engines, anything. Silence. Too silent. We have to move, I said. Now. Ayanna hesitated. Hospital? No. Too obvious, too traceable. We take him to St. Mary's, urgent care, private. No police until he's conscious. And what if he dies on the way? I met her eyes. Then he dies fighting for something instead of dying as someone's trash. We lifted him, heavy, limp, messy, and carried him toward the exit, blood smearing across my dress, coating my hands. Outside, the wind cut sharp, icy, slicing through adrenaline. Ayanna fumbled with the keys. Naya, we just stole a dying criminal. No, I said. We rescued a dying witness. We sped toward the hospital, tires screaming on asphalt, buildings blurring, the city indifferent and wide awake. Halfway there, Marcus stirred, whispering through trembling lips. They're coming. Who? The ones above him, the ones who own everything. I gripped his cold hand. Then they're not the only ones playing this game anymore. Ayanna glanced at me, terrified. Naya, you realize this is bigger than us, right? Bigger than family, bigger than marriage, bigger than revenge. Yes, I said quietly, which is why I'm done with acting. What does that mean? Ayanna demanded. It means I stop surviving and start strategizing. You can't fight them alone. I won't. Who's going to help you? I stared at the road ahead, city lights stretching into a predatory horizon, wind roaring through cracked windows, blood drying on my hands. People who lost everything because of them. People who are tired of being afraid. People they underestimated. Ayanna stared, stunned. You're talking like revolution. No, I'm talking like someone who finally understands her enemy. We rounded the corner. Hospital lights glowing ahead like refuge or a trap. Marcus gasped, eyes wide. They're not going to stop until everything is theirs. And they won't stop until someone takes it back. He squeezed my hand with the last strength he had left. Then he closed his eyes, breathing shallow. Ayanna whispered, "Is he gone?" "No," I said. But he's not coming back the same. The hospital door slid open. Bright, clinical, merciless. We ran inside, calling for help, voices echoing through sterile halls, hands pulled Marcus away, doctors shouting orders, machines beeping. Chaos moving with precision. And as we stood there, blood-covered, shaking, exhausted, the world we'd been hiding from shifted around us. Ayanna turned, eyes wide, voice trembling. What do we do now? I stared at my blood-stained hands, remembering the man in the coat, the threat in his smile, the empire behind his power. We find Chantel, I said. We get her out, we protect that baby. And after that, I looked up, voice hard as steel. We dismantled their network, piece by piece. Ayanna exhaled. That sounds suicidal. No, I said. That sounds inevitable. Because I wasn't fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for every woman they treated like collateral, for every life they monetized, for every secret they buried, and for the part of me that refused to die quietly. Ayanna reached for my hand. It shook, but it held. You ready? She whispered. No, I said, but I'm willing. Outside, sirens wailed. Police arrived, too late, just like always. But this time, I wasn't waiting for them to save me. I had already decided to save myself. The waiting room at St. Mary's was lit in that artificial blue-white glow that made every sleepless face look ghostly, like we were all trapped in the same purgatory. Nurses rushed past with clipboards, monitors beeped with mechanical indifference, and the television in the corner played muted news about city politics while my world tilted on an axis no anchor could report. My dress was stiff with dried blood, Marcus's blood, and my hands ached from clenching into fists for hours. Every time the automatic door slid open, wind swept through, cold, sterile, a reminder that outside, danger still waited, calculating. Ayanna paced in tight circles, muttering legal strategies under her breath, trying to make sense of a situation that had no blueprint. If Marcus survives, he's leverage. If he dies, he's a martyr. We need him alive long enough to testify, but if he talks before we're protected, we're dead. Jesus, this is a mess. I stared at the floor, hearing every word but feeling none. Survival leaves no room for panic. It leaves only clarity, and clarity was its own kind of horror. A doctor approached, face impassive, hands clasped. He's stable, for now. Bullet missed his lung by millimeters. We're monitoring internal bleeding. He'll likely need surgery. Is he conscious? I asked. No, sedated. But based on early labs, there are drugs in his system. Amphetamines, alcohol, maybe more. His body's fighting on multiple fronts. Ayanna exhaled shakily. Can we see him? The doctor hesitated. One at a time. But if law enforcement arrives, visitation may be suspended. My stomach twisted. Law enforcement is involved. He sighed. Gunshot victims trigger automatic notifications. I'm sorry, it's procedure. Of course it was. Black men bleed out one person at a time. The system arrives only when there's paperwork to file. Ayanna muttered under her breath. Police will question us, and if Marcus wakes up sloppy, he could implicate us. Or he could tell them everything that implicates the men who shot him. Ayanna shook her head. Nia, those men don't lose. They erase witnesses. They erase questions. The moment police get involved, they'll activate cleanup. And cleanup means silence. Before she finished, the automatic doors opened and 2 uniformed officers entered, scanning the room with predator casualness. Not aggressive, not urgent, just looking for stories to control. Ayanna cursed under her breath. We need to leave. No, I said. We need to stall. The officers approached the front desk, speaking in quiet, authoritative tones. The receptionist nodded, pointing toward the hall where Marcus lay unconscious. An officer's eyes tracked the blood on my dress, then the dried streaks on my arms, then my face.
He recognized trauma, but not as something to protect, something to interrogate. He started toward us. Ayana grabbed my wrist, act confused, scared, helpless. I am none of those things, I said. And that's the problem, she replied. The officer reached us. Ladies, are you involved with the victim who was brought in tonight? I met his eyes, steady. We brought him in. He was shot. How? We found him that way, Ayana said quickly. You found him? Yes, and we don't know who shot him. We just knew he needed help. His expression registered skepticism, so overt it bordered on offense. You didn't see anything? Hear anything? No, Ayana responded. We were driving past an old warehouse. We heard a gunshot. He stumbled out, collapsed. He turned to me. And you decided to transport him yourselves instead of calling 911? Yes, because waiting for help would have killed him. He studied me like I was both suspect and inconvenience. Do you know his name? I hesitated. Ayana jumped in. We don't. He was delirious, mumbling, hard to understand. The officer frowned, clearly unconvinced. We'll need statements from both of you. Ayana nodded politely. Of course. But her hand squeezed mine. A silent message, stall, not reveal, not trust. Before the officer could press further, a nurse rushed toward us. The patient is crashing, code blue. Chaos erupted instantly. Alarms, footsteps, voices shouting orders. The officers pivoted, torn between duty and curiosity. They ran toward the trauma bay, leaving us in the wake of crisis. Ayana collapsed into the seat next to me, breathing hard. This is spiraling fast. I stared at the double doors where Marcus disappeared. If he dies, the truth dies with him. And if he lives, the truth might get us killed. I didn't respond. Because both were true. Minutes later, hours, maybe, the doctor emerged again, sweating, exhausted, shaken. He's stable again, barely. But someone needs to answer a question. What question? He had scars, older ones, from restraints, not rope burns, shackles, deep, healed grooves. Someone kept him somewhere for a long time, and they didn't want him leaving. Ayana's voice cracked. Prison? The doctor shook his head. No, facility marks. Something else. He hesitated.
Something darker. I felt my skin crawl with the truth I hadn't dared to articulate. Marcus wasn't just desperate. He'd been broken long before we saw him. Raised by wolves in a world with no mercy. Used. Discarded. Until he tried to matter somewhere, anywhere, even if it meant drowning everyone around him. The doctor stepped closer. He whispered something during the crash. Makes no sense, but he said, basement 6. Does that mean anything to you? Ayana frowned. Basement 6 what? He didn't say. I swallowed hard because I recognized the tone. A facility, a hideout, a place they kept people. And if that existed, Chantel might not be the first, and she wouldn't be the last. Before we could respond, the officers returned, uniforms stained with urgency. Ladies, we need you to come with us. Ayana stiffened. Are we being detained? Not at this time, one said, but we have questions about your involvement. I stood slowly, feeling the weight of the future press down on me. You don't know what you're walking into, I said. The officer smirked. Ma'am, I'm not easily intimidated. I'm not trying to intimidate you, I said. I'm trying to warn you. He opened his mouth to reply, but the hospital doors slid open again, and in walked 3 men. Not police, not doctors. Suits. Silent. Cold. Predators. They flashed badges at the desk. Not law enforcement, federal. The taller one looked directly at me. Naya Montgomery? Yes. You're coming with us. My stomach tightened. Am I under arrest? No, he said, but you're now a witness in an active federal investigation. Ayanna stepped forward. She needs counsel. He smiled, icy. She needs protection. I hesitated, because sometimes protection is just another word for containment, and sometimes rescue is just the first stage of captivity. Ayanna's hand found mine. Are we going with them? She whispered. I don't know, I said. But before I could decide, the agent leaned in, eyes deadly calm. We're not the ones trying to silence you. He paused. They are. And with those words, the hallway lights flickered, power surged, sirens began to wail, and somewhere deep inside the hospital, a fire alarm began to scream. The fire alarm wasn't just noise, it was panic engineered into sound. Nurses rushed toward exits, patients wheeled into hallways, monitors screaming in protest. The smell of smoke didn't hit immediately, but the tension did. Thick, electric, dangerous. Ayanna grabbed my arm, nails digging in. We're leaving, now. The federal agents didn't flinch. They stood like statues in a storm, scanning exits, radios crackling. The tallest one, Agent Harrow, according to his badge, stepped into my path, commanding without shouting. This fire is a diversion. They're here. They? Ayanna repeated. Who the hell is they, and why do they keep showing up like a Greek chorus of men in suits? Harrow ignored her. His gaze walked on me. Come with us. We can protect you. I don't trust you, I said, voice sharp. He nodded once. Good. Trust keeps you alive, but belief doesn't change the threat. They want you eliminated, preferably tonight. You exposed the embezzlement, intercepted a hostage, and now you have a dying witness who might name names. A crash echoed from deeper inside the hospital, metal hitting tile, followed by frantic screaming. Someone running, someone louder, someone desperate. Ayanna whispered, That's not a fire. No, Harrow said. That's extraction. My pulse kicked. Extraction of who? Of anyone who can incriminate them, he said, including Marcus, including you. The fire is a diversion, literal and tactical. Suddenly, smoke seeped beneath the trauma bay doors, thick and gray, spreading low like a predator crawling across the floor. Harrow turned to his team. Move the witness, now. The other agents ran down the hallway toward Marcus's room, but just before they reached it, 2 figures in tactical gear stepped out of the stairwell, firing suppressed shots. Quiet, controlled, deadly. One agent collapsed instantly, blood pooling beneath him. The other dove for cover, shouting orders. Ayanna screamed, grabbing my hand, pulling me toward an emergency exit. I'm not dying in a hospital parking lot, but Harrow blocked us. If you leave on your own, you won't make it 10 feet. They already have shooters in place. And you can guarantee we won't get killed if we stay? She shouted. No, he said flatly. But we can guarantee they'll go through us before they get to her. Ayanna stared at him. And what's she to you? A case? A witness? A political stepping stone? Harrow didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was low, steady. She is the only person who has disrupted their financial network without dying. That makes her valuable and dangerous to all of us. Sirens blasted overhead, sprinklers activating, pouring cold water in heavy streams, drenching everything, baptizing the floor in chaos. People screamed, slipping, running. The gunmen advanced, silent predators through wet firelight. Harrow turned to me, urgent. Nia, listen, you're not safe anywhere but with us. They have anonymity, resources, weapons. You have information and courage. That terrifies them. My sister, where is she? Harrow hesitated. Not from ignorance, from caution. We traced a holding property on River Heights Road. We're planning a raid. When? I demanded. Soon. That means too late. You don't understand. No, I snapped. You don't understand. She is pregnant, she is terrified, and she is in the hands of people who kill their own assets. If they realize Marcus is alive, they'll eliminate her immediately. She's leverage, and leverage expires. A violent explosion shook the building, far enough to avoid collapse, close enough to rattle teeth. A fireball flickered through the hallway, igniting curtains, melting plastic, sending civilians scrambling like ants. Ayana yelled, "They're burning evidence." No, Harrow said, "They're burning the trail." He grabbed my wrist. Nia, come with us now. We'll protect you and we'll get her back. I yanked my hand free. I don't want protection. I want action. You're not trained for this. I don't need training. I need urgency. Another gunshot cracked. Screams, running, chaos everywhere. And then, an intercom crackled through static. Code red, security breach in Trauma Bay, evacuate immediately. People stampeded. 2 doctors pushed a stretcher with Marcus's unconscious body, only to be met with a bullet that hit one of them square in the chest. Ayana covered her mouth, horrified. The gunman reached for Marcus, but a second agent tackled him into a gurney, wrestling the weapon away. Harrow grabbed me, voice fierce. This is not a negotiation. Move. We ran, down a back stairwell slippery with sprinkler water, smoke trailing us like a malevolent creature. Harrow's radio crackled with frantic voices. Extraction point blocked. Shooters on the west exit. Hostiles in the ambulance bay. Repeat, hostiles in... Static swallowed the rest. Ayana shoved open a heavy metal door leading us into a dim underground garage. Concrete walls, flickering lights. No sirens. Only silence. Too much silence. Keep low, Harrow said. Stay behind me. We moved between parked cars, shadows stretching tall and thin. My heart hammered. Adrenaline surged sharp and metallic in my mouth. Then, behind a pillar, a man stepped out. Black ski mask, gun raised. Harrow reacted first. 3 suppressed shots. The man fell hard, body limp, weapons skidding across the floor, clattering against concrete. Ayana whispered, "Oh my God." Harrow didn't stop moving. Go. Go. We reached a black SUV, engine running, back doors open. He pushed us in. Ayana and I buckled like children in a storm. Harrow jumped into the front seat and slammed the door. "We're taking you someplace secure." "No," I said, breathless. "You're taking me to River Heights Road." He stared at me through the rearview mirror. "That facility has armed guards, surveillance, escape tunnels. And a pregnant hostage," I cut in. "A woman who they will kill when I stop being useful." Ayana wiped water and blood from her face. "Nia, this isn't just a rescue. This is a battlefield." "I know." Harrow's jaw clenched. "You don't command this mission." "No," I said, voice steady, "but I am the reason it exists." He stared at me for a long, tense second, eyes dark, calculating. Then he spoke. Not as an agent, as a strategist. "A strike team is mobilizing. We'll reach the property before sunrise." "What do you want from me?" I asked. He hesitated. Then, testimony, details, every name you know, every threat, every transaction. "And in exchange, you live." Ayana laughed, a bitter, exhausted sound. "And her?" Harrow inhaled. "If we're fast, she lives too."
He shifted gears. The SUV shot forward, tires screeching, night air rushing past windows. City disappearing behind us, unknown territory ahead. Ayana leaned against me, whispering, "I don't know if we're heroes or fools." "Neither," I said. "We're survivors who ran out of places to hide." Harrow glanced back one more time. "Prepare yourselves. This isn't about revenge anymore." I nodded. It never was. The SUV sped toward the horizon, toward the lake, the house, the danger, toward a future we didn't choose, but would have to claim. My voice settled into the quiet, strong and certain. If you learned something new from my life story, please like this video, subscribe to join our community for more stories like mine, and comment down below where you're watching this video from. I'd truly love to know.